Hi guys, and welcome back to Dave's Game Room. It's time for another Dave and Mike reviews, and this time we're taking a look at the New Zealand story on a couple of home computers, Mike. With me, as ever, is Mike. How's it going, mate?
Hey Dave, hey guys, how you doing, mate? You all good?
Yeah, still trying to get over the flu, so apologies, guys, if I'm not have a bit of a coughing fit and my voice doesn't
Yeah,
sound too good. But
I've been ill with it as well, mate. So I'm feeling a bit dodgy. But yeah, New Zealand story, man. Thank you so much for following up with my request of this.
yeah, I had to. I was intrigued. I had heard of this game before. I'd seen it on the NES, and I thought, why not? Let's have a look at it on the Spectrum. Now,
Man.
Mike, you've got nostalgia about the Spectrum and about this
Yeah.
game, so you need to do most of the talking on this one.
Well, wow, look at the frame rate, if you can call it that. The Spectrum was my first ever computer. My first ever games console was before that, was an Atari 2600. My first computer was the Spectrum, and I bought this game. This is what was a AAA, known as a AAA game back in the day. It was a $9.99. It was a full price game.
As you can see, I'm stuck.
This game, I think, was in the arcade as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was an arcade game that was ported across to home consoles and home computers, as Mike said, on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun to get working, let alone playing, Mike. It was hilarious.
Yeah. So what is this running on, and what sort of emulator is this?
It's something called just Specky, I believe, a Spectrum emulator. And yeah, I had a bit of fun trying to get it working, mate, because I'm used to the Commodore 64 and the Amiga. So with this, it was a little bit tricky, but I'm glad I got it working because I wanted to fulfill your request.
I mean, the Commodore 64 version of this probably looks a lot better because you've got a better colour palette, haven't you? Oh, that's right. That's the aim of the game, isn't it? Rescuing your mates.
That's right, yeah, at the end of each level. I'd actually think that the Spectrum version might be better because it's got more RAM. I think this is a Spectrum 128.
That's what I owned.
64 had 64, as we know, kilobits of RAM.
Yeah, I owned the 128. I didn't own the Spectrum 48K. Yeah, this is obviously, it looks a bit shit, really, doesn't it? Oh, you can float around on the balloons, can't you?
You can, yeah. So if you basically defeat the enemy that's on top of it, then you can float around on it.
This looked fantastic on the Amiga, this did. Go on, sorry, mate, what was you going to say?
What I will say, Mike, is the controls on this game are fiddly and quite difficult to get to grips with, as I found. How was it on the actual Spectrum?
Sorry, I was going to say, what are you using? Are you using the keys to play this, keyboard?
Yeah, because I thought that's probably how most people would have played this back in the day.
Yeah, I remember it being a little bit fiddly. I used to map the keys to the arrows, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what I did on my laptop keyboard as I was emulating this, actually.
Man, it's the music's cracking me up. But yeah, if I mean, on the Amiga, this looked really good. I never played it in the arcade. I was addicted to going to the arcades as a kid. I used to go most weekends, but I never ever saw a cabinet with this on it.
All right, okay, yeah. So this game, I think if you got used to it, which you probably did back in the day, would have been a lot of fun. I like it. You fire these arrows. You're basically a little chicken, aren't you? That's the point of this.
Yeah, you're New Zealand Kiwi, aren't you?
Oh, a Kiwi, so not a little chicken. What am I on? Yeah. And you're rescuing your mates that are also little Kiwis, I guess.
Yeah, it's just straight up good platforming fun. It was in around the same sort of time, and when games like Rainbow Islands was popular.
Oh, I remember Rainbow Islands. That was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, that might have been just after this, because on the Spectrum, Rainbow Islands was very colourful. I didn't like, on the Spectrum, as you can see, guys, the yellow and black colour scheme. I thought it was lazy, because if you see on different formats, which I think we'll see a bit later on in this video, it's a very colourful game.
Yeah, I saw footage of the NES version, and I think I may have even played that, and it is a lot more colourful than this.
Did this hit the consoles then? I didn't know that.
Oh, it was released on the NES, mate, as well. And yeah, the NES version is pretty cool, actually. It's pretty good. Smoother frame rate, higher colour depth, as you probably alluded to a minute ago. Yeah, the Amiga version's not bad either.
Spectrum games, none of them really look good now. I mean, looking back at all, but it was a good machine for gaming because it had such a wide variety of games available to it.
That's what I loved, Mike, about the traditional home computer era. Forget PCs because they were too expensive at this time.
Yeah,
some of the games that you got on the Spectrum, the BBC, the Commodore 64 were fantastic, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, we even had the Amstrad, didn't we? Remember the Amstrad CPC?
I remember the CPC. Yeah, I think we might have actually had one of those as a 286 PC.
I knew a guy who had one. It had the green. You had a monitor bundled with that, with the green and black screen.
That's right, a monochromatic screen. Spot on. Yeah.
But with the Commodore and the Spectrum, you could just plug it into your normal CRT TV set.
You could, and that was one of the great things about it. Now, Mike, talk to us a little bit about what it was like to actually own a Spectrum, because obviously I didn't.
It was exciting. I was a kid, and my mum bought me one for Christmas, and it came bundled with 100-odd games.
Wow.
So, I mean, and you had the early Batman, Head Over Heels. I had some classics. The only downside was booting it up. The loading times were quite horrific. But here we go. Look at this colour.
This is the Amiga 500 version, and 600 version of New Zealand Story being played genuinely on my A1200, guys.
Oh, this is awesome. Now, I owned an Amiga later on in life, but I never played this on the Amiga. This is brilliant.
Look how much smoother this game is on the Amiga. Look at it. It's like silk when the characters move in and firing the shots.
That looks gorgeous.
So, was New Zealand Story around the same sort of time as like Super Mario Brothers had hit, or was it afterwards?
That's a really good question. It's a little bit after the original Mario.
Oh, it was after the first Super Mario Brothers. That's good then.
I think so. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. I mean, obviously it's borrowing a lot from Mario, but it'd actually be worth finding out. Was it before or after Mario? I would say Mario 1 would have already been out, because this came out in 1988, didn't it?
Oh yeah.
Story.
So Mario 2 would have been out by then as well.
There you go. So yeah, it's obviously going to borrow from Mario a little bit.
Yeah, that's when the platform genre was really established with Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 2. This, though, mate, the Amiga version, I had a lot of fun playing this. I thought it was pretty cool on the Amiga.
This game was so good. It was so good. I mean, it looks brilliant on the Amiga today, but a lot of Amiga games still look decent today. It was a fantastic machine.
A lot of the 2D Amiga games, look fantastic. Yeah. I completely agree with you, man. But yeah, I had a lot of fun playing this on the Amiga. It was way more frustrating on the Spectrum, and I found it hard. Just to let you know, though, with the Amiga, I was playing with a Mega Drive controller plugged into it, so it's easier to control.
Of course, yeah, it's going to be with a controller. I mean, a lot of the old Spectrum games were difficult because they were fiddly, and they were a little bit dodgy to play.
Yeah, that's right. Same with the Commodore, Mike. Exactly the same with the Commodore 64 that I remember. Some of the games, you waited an eternity for them to load, and then they could be quite frustrating, and similar to how New Zealand Story was on the Spectrum that I was playing earlier.
They'd crash a lot as well, games would, on the old Spectrum Commodore, if I remember.
They would, yeah. You'd wait half an hour, like put the kettle on, make a drink, and then you'd be greeted with an error.
Yeah, I can't believe how smooth this is compared to the Spectrum. Look at that.
It's fantastic, and it shows you the step up from, machines like the Spectrum and the Commodore 64 that were early 80s machines, moving to about 1987, which is when the Amiga 500 was released, I believe.
There was a huge step up from 8-bit to this.
There was, yeah, and it's fantastic. Now, what about your Amiga owning days? Let's have a little bit of a background on that, Mike. What can you remember about your Amiga owning days?
I got the Amiga late in its life. I wish I'd got it earlier. I think I stuck with the Spectrum for far too long when the Amiga had already been out. Put it this way, I used to look at reviews of games in the multi-format magazines and sort of cry to myself at how good they looked on the Amiga, and I'm still stuck with a little monochrome Spectrum because most of the games are just two colours, 3 if you were lucky.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But yeah, the Amiga 1200, I just had that from the off. I never owned the 500.
You went straight for the 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like yourself, saw in a lot of magazines like Commodore and home computer magazines how good the Amiga looked back then. And I was a C64 owner back then. Well, my dad was, and obviously I played on it a lot.
Yeah.
And like yourself, I was just looking at it with envy because of how great the games looked.
Yeah,
but
it was a decent machine.
It was. I mean, let's just leave the last minute. Let's just talk a little bit more about New Zealand Story. Frustrated on the Spectrum. How do you remember it on the Spectrum?
Frustrating, really tough levels. I can't remember. I'm trying to think who made it. Was it Taito?
Taito, I think, made this game. That's right.
Because it was a Japanese game, wasn't it? I mean, you can tell it's very Japanesey. Yeah, it was hard. On the Amiga, it looks a little bit less punishing, but again, it's smoother, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, a lot of it involved flying around on the balloons and hoping your balloon doesn't get burst, trying to get you to rescue your matey. But you got all them like thorns as well, those spiky things all over the shop.
Yeah, those spiky things on the ceiling.
Yeah, it got very, very tough. I don't think I ever finished it, to be honest, because I got way too frustrated with it by the end. But it still goes down as one of my favourite platformers of all time.
That's really awesome, mate. And yeah, the Amiga version was much, much better for me. As you'd expect, you know, more powerful hardware, more colourful graphics. I found it more enjoyable to play. It was frustrating as hell on the Spectrum, but I'm so glad I had a look at the Spectrum, Mike. So thank you very much for that suggestion. And yes, I'm glad we looked at it.
Thanks, Dave. It's awesome to see New Zealand story again. And thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching. We're going to do more games on home computers, and we're open to suggestions. But thanks as ever for watching.
Cheers, guys.